I am Jeffrey Villard, and in the Kingdom of Sweden campaign from 1648, 30 Years of War, a Kingdom's Total Conversion mod for Medieval True Total War by Infract. We are in the month of May 1631, the snow has melted, and with the coming of summer the Swedish armies take to the field. And this summer is going to be full of great battles. But before we start with the battles, the heresy event is a notification that Hussites and Baptist and Bohemian brethren have spawned heretics around the map. The month of May 1631 was that fateful time when Magdeburg fell to the armies of Count Tilly. Magdeburg had been a bastion of Protestantism, and Wallenstein had already besieged it before unsuccessfully. Gustavus Adolphus was on his way to save the city, but was delayed due to reluctance of the electorate of Brandenburg to give him military access. Count Tilly was swift in capturing Magdeburg, which he laid waste. One of Tilly's generals wrote that not since the fall of Jerusalem had there been such a complete destruction of a city. The recruitment of Scottish and Swedish units continues on our Baltic ports, pushing our economy further into the red. With money funneled into unit recruitment, construction slows down. Our generals supply their armies in preparation for the battles ahead. Gnezin is besieged by the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, and Liegnitz is under siege by the Imperialists. So before marching on, we must first relieve those two cities. Liegnitz is besieged by an Imperialist army under Michel de Gorevod. It is defended by Joachim Kelstorm, and Georg von Brandenburg Bayreuth comes once again to their relief. This looks like a previous battle, but it's a different battle with some of the same protagonists. So here is the enemy army at the moment. The army of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth is firing from the distance. Here are the units of Georg von Brandenburg Bayreuth. They're coming to relieve the garrison.
The enemy general lies dead. We've sent the base cur to hell.
The enemy general has been slain. Michel de Gorevod. The Imperialists are sending some units to intercept our cavalry. These are those early period musketeers. There are still some of them around. They are effective enough, despite their low firepower, relatively low firepower. Some of our garrison halberdiers have marched out to delay the enemy. The enemy is here approaching our units that have sallied out and have joined in with, or are about to join in with, the few units of the relief force. The relief force is coming from the right of this scene. The salliage has happened behind this bastion here, this point of the start fort. The enemy is approaching here with some pikemen. They changed their minds. They are heading back. Here you can see the distance, the units of Georg von Brandenburg Bayreuth So this summer is going to be full of battles. It is going to be something of a high point of this campaign. We are on the borders of the imperialist heartlands. We're near Bohemia. And here is the Kaiser's eagle, the imperial eagle. And so the imperialists are going to put a very strong fight now. The enemy heir, the Austrian heir, Prince Ferdinand, is in person present in this area. Albrecht Wallenstein has been recalled. You remember he walked away for a bit. He actually has come back. So he's back into action. He's somewhere in the area of Weimar. The Polish are also sending small armies to besiege our peripheral cities, our peripheral settlements near their frontier. Here are some harquebusiers. They are chasing and harassing those routed units. The ground is strewn with the dead Austrians, the dead imperialist soldiers. Our harquebusiers are harassing the enemy army, not letting them to regroup and come back. Here they're going up this trench. This is something like a dried up moat, or perhaps an old moat before the new walls were built up, or maybe enemy dried it up before the siege, who knows. So the imperialists have brought in a lot of pikemen, but as usual, especially after the death of the general, when they are not commanded by a proper general, they fight in sieges in a very disorganized way, and that is what we see here. I ought perhaps to say, and have it on record, that the main motor behind this mode was Mungun Teyakum. He has led other projects by Infracta, but this was perhaps one of the more ambitious projects, at least for Medieval 2 Total War. The main scripter was Gigantes. He has done a lot of fantastic work for this mod. He also introduced some of the graphics. Mungun Teyakum was responsible for all the history, practically, all the historical research. He also did a lot of modding himself. And there were other members from Infracta who did the skins and various other things. I worked a little bit on a few things myself, but I was a relatively minor figure in the scheme of things. So credit should go first to Mungun Teyakum and to Gigantes. So by now, I think we have managed to bring the units of the Sally out on that mode. They are probably, now we may be able to see them, they're probably ready to harass the enemy in the distance. Our cavalry is still harassing them. They are being also fired at from the walls of the Star Fort. And the Georg von Brandenburg-Bayreuth is already in position. So you can see here some of the units that have sallied out. Here are some Yellow Brigade musketeers, I believe, or maybe they are, no, they are late period musketeers. They are firing from the top of that dried up ditch or moat. at the approaching enemy, and the enemy is being delayed here. Our cavalry is also being delayed by the difficult ground, and our enemy now has retreated. These are the units of Georg Brandenburg Bayreuth. You can see the enemy has fallen back. They are under constant fire. Our arquebusiers have formed a screen. These are our cuirassiers. We also have some cuirassiers. They are moving forward.
Only half the enemy force remains. Units, march!
The aim here is twofold with the cavalry. First of all, to harass and distract the enemy units so that they don't march too fast towards our main line, and they stay under fire from the walls as long as possible. That's the first aim. So we're merely distracting them, firing at their flanks, of course causing some casualties, but mainly distracting them and slowing them down. The other aim of the cavalry is to collect as far as possible prisoners when these units begin to rout. So you can see now these units being fired at by our entire line. They have suffered a lot of casualties and they break. They break and flee in a hurry. And here is the screen of arquebusiers. You saw them on the right. More enemy pikemen are heading our way, being fired at here by our cuirassiers. You can see how they were slowed down by the fire, and at the moment they were trying to decide whether to attack the cuirassiers or to go for the main line. They've been slowed down again. So this is the effect of the cavalry. It's fairly realistic, probably. I think if we were in a position like this and we were marching in a block of pikes and some cavalry started firing on our side, being pikemen, it will cross the mind of many people and there will be requests from the soldiers to attack that cavalry rather than continue marching. Get rid of the cavalry before we march on. And so they've been stopped basically by the cavalry. The Conan decide whether to go forward, and they're now suffering heavy casualties despite their breastplates, body armor. At the time of the 30 Years' War, a lot of the plates that the soldiers were wearing was bulletproof and also arquebus-proof at a distance, and potentially also musket-proof, although Robert Monroe said that up to about 300 meters, a musket bullet had enough force to kill a man. But whether it could penetrate a breastplate, that's a different question. So at that distance, whether it had the force at 300 meters to penetrate breastplate. At shorter distances, of course, musket bullets were deadly. They were designed to penetrate metal armor, the armor of their time. The fire from arquebuses had a shorter range, it was not quite as effective, and pistols had trouble, even at closer distances. High-quality armor worn by officers, especially generals and high-ranking officers, was good enough to be essentially bulletproof even on contact, so you could fire a bullet just at the armor, just point blank, and it will not penetrate. A pistol bullet will not penetrate it. And in fact, there were often tests made on armor. So a bullet was fired, perhaps an arquebus bullet, depends on the test. When the armor was first made, when it was brand new, before it was being sold, and then a circle or some decoration was made around the point where the test had been made to show proof that this particular armor was pistol-proof or arquebus-proof and so on, or exactly what the test was. You know, that was the proof of the test. So the person who bought the armor was then confident that this armor was good enough. So pistoliers are not that great at killing in this mode, but they can harass and upset units and slow them down, and even draw them in one way or another, distract them, and so on. So they're still very useful, and of course they can hunt down units, and they can demoralize them a little bit. So they're still useful despite the fact that they're relatively unsuccessful in actually killing with their pistols. So again, here we're taking some prisoners units have routed. Here are cuirassiers. They are taking prisoners of units that have been routed.
Our men are winning the battle. If we continue like this, we will smash the enemy.
Arquebusiers in the distance are firing. The enemy now is certainly on the back foot. Very few units still remain on the field. The battle is practically over. Here's some enemy double-handers have been charged, but they hold their ground. They don't break. They are nearly... Okay, a standard bearer made it through. It was nearly slain. Cavalry flags were smaller than infantry flags. In fact, sometimes they were triangular in shape to have less drag against the wind, but generally smaller. So this is possibly the last remaining enemy unit in good order. There are only a few men left in this unit. So the outcome of this battle is a foregone conclusion by now. Our cavalry is harassing that small unit. Yes, the cavalry flag, which was a smaller flag, was called a cornet. And the enemy has been routed. Those pikemen are taken prisoner.
Men are winning the battle. If we continue like this, we will smash the enemy.
There's still some pikemen in good order, but they don't look in great shape. So here's our general. He's into the fray. Because of the cannonading from the wall, it's usually not very wise to have a general hanging around, but here he's at a considerable distance from the wall, so hopefully he will be safe. So he's chasing, along with the other cavalry, the last remaining units in good order. Here are some Zweihänder. They are being taken prisoner.
Our men are winning the battle. If we continue like this, we will smash the enemy.
Here the cavalry is finishing up this battle. Still a few units fighting on. The Imperialists are not giving up. They are fighting for their emperor.
The battle is very much in our favor. If we remain true and steadfast, victory will be ours. Behold how our cowardly foe runs. It's time to press the attack.
So, Joachim Kjellstrom is once again victorious. He has defeated the Imperialist army, and they're now being routed. So, cavalry units, cavalry companies at this period were called troops of horse. A troop of horse was a cavalry company. Other units were not called troops, only cavalry. Dragoons were not called troops. Their flanks were smaller, and they were called cornets. And sometimes you hear the term cornet of cavalry. That's one unit. Since one unit, each unit had its own flag, its troop of horse, its company had its own flag. A cornet of cavalry was a company of cavalry, or rather, a cornet of horse was a company of cavalry, a cavalry company. So the mopping up continues. There are very few men still on the battlefield.
This is a clear victory that goes to only men of great virtue and valor.
And Joachim Kjellstrom has defeated the Imperialist army with a loss of only 19 men. One of the late musketeer units of the garrison has broken a new record by scoring 1,354 kills.
If the enemy finds us here, it won't be to their liking.
The Kaiser does not ransom the prisoners taken in a battle, so they will be pressed into the Swedish army. We will continue with the events of May 1631 in the next episode. Thank you for watching.